You're listening to the Into the Woods podcast with your hosts, Dermot and Michael. Let's get into it.
Wonderful chase by Shaw.
Cox again. I cannot believe it. Daicos nearly runs out of room. He's goal! Jamie Elliott has won the game of footy for this famous club. Slap for Nick Daicos. He's going to be the hero. The little champ is going to pick the winner.
Here's the Degoe moment. He unloads. Bang! You need your stars. And Collingwood stars just went and wrenched the cup back.
If you're watching us on YouTube, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. For Spotify and Apple listeners, a 5-star rating would be greatly appreciated. Make sure you hit the bell icon on any of those platforms to be notified as soon as new episodes are released. You can find us on X at Into the Woods Pod and on Instagram at Into the Woods Pod 10. Thanks for your ongoing support by helping the podcast grow. Go Pies! Welcome to Into the Woods. I'm your host Dermot, and for the next hour or so, we'll be talking about all things Collingwood. Once again, I'm joined by Michael. How are you, Mick?
Yeah, good, thank you. Good, doing well.
We're doing this over Zoom, as everyone who's watching us could see. I've just been a little bit sniffly for the last week, and Michael doesn't want to get sick. When I say sniffly, I've actually been in a very bad way. Haven't been to work all week, and I'm only just starting to recover now. So I must have had whatever Steel Sidebottom had, and it seems like everyone else at the club, because something's going around. But yeah, it's disappointing actually, Mick, because I worked out that this was meant to be our last episode together for a few weeks, because the next few games are going to be Sunday afternoon, so we'll be doing the podcast on a Monday night, and I doubt either of us will want to travel to the other person's house on a Monday after work. So the next few episodes will be over Zoom, I reckon.
Yeah, no. I've only just unblocked my toilet from whatever you deposited in there last week, Dermot.
I'm not sure if that's really appropriate to. I said that I wanted to bring that up because it was a very impressive effort, and you said that's nothing to talk about on the podcast.
I almost got Mulder and Scully out to have a look at what that was. But anyway, keep looking.
All right. Anyway, have you got any? What's that?
No, I didn't say anything. Go ahead.
So this is the bad thing about frickin' Zoom, is like we can't talk over the top of each other. It's just the dynamic isn't as good. We just had to go through. You'll read in Serge's VFR report later, and apparently there's no way Michael can be on his phone on Zoom and do the report at the same time. Absolute boomer.
Well, can I just apologise to Serge in advance? We very much appreciate the time he takes to do this. But me, with modern technology, I'm all thumbs, especially in this environment. So I'm supposed to record from my phone and also access my phone concurrently. So we'll see how we go.
Every week there's an issue with you doing your VFR report. I don't think that's been smooth sailing once. It's very simple. Serge sends the email. He does all the hard work, Michael. All you have to do is just read the bloody thing. There's
a lot of pressure come to bear. But
hopefully it's a bit more successful than your Tom McGuan watch. All right. Anyway, let's get into all the hot topics.
We've listened to the wisdom of Sir Winston Churchill and the brilliance of genius Albert Einstein. In the 60s, we heard the great JFK. Now, all the great minds are talking footy.
All right. Well, we've lost. And far out. I hate losing. You know, we were 2.5 games clear. We're probably going to be a game and a half clear at the end of the round. I think we already are. So you don't think I should be that upset?
No.
But I am.
No, I'm pretty relaxed about it. We're going to have a loss at some time. When you take everything into consideration, we'll due for a loss in inverted commas. The number of players we've had out, the illness going through the club recently. We're playing a good side on their home deck. We played terribly for a half and still only lost by a kick.
Well, we kicked our first goal halfway through the third quarter.
Oh, you can't expect to win if you're doing that. If you kick in, but it pretty much played out as I predicted. I said if we were within 24 points at 3/4 time, to put a pat on my own back. If we were within 24 points at 3/4 time, we'd run over the top of them. It was 28 points. Had we been within 24 points, we would have snuck the win.
It was
But
very similar to last year's game up on the Gold Coast where we trailed by a similar amount in three-quarter time. Then we ended up hitting the lead only to drop it within a couple minutes that game as well and then eventually lose. So
yeah.
very similar. It was funny.
Oh,
I'll give myself a pat on the back as well. Like unlucky for me, my one wasn't recorded. Your one was on the last pod, but I
well,
called.
it didn't happen then, did it, Dermot?
It
Let's,
happened. If you're an honest man, you'd back up what I'm about to say.
it's like I picked the Tesla numbers, but I didn't buy a ticket. Nobody cares, Dermot.
So what? Our conversations don't mean anything unless they're recorded these days.
Go ahead. What do you claim you said?
Well, I called you at halftime, and I think you're ready for a typical Dermot rant, and there was no rant. Like you think there would be after we had to kick the goal for a whole half of football, but I said to you, I said there were signs in that last 5 to 10 minutes of that second quarter that our game was back. We didn't kick a goal, and we missed a few simple ones, but I said there were just little signs, and at that point it was I think 35 points, and I said to you, I reckon we're going to come back and win this, and obviously we didn't but I wasn't far off. There was just, like I said, there were little signs. I will admit, after they kicked the first goal of the third quarter, and we went the whole first half of that quarter without kicking a goal as well. At that point, I conceded when we're about 40 down. But it took me a bit longer than most people would seem to concede that game. You can
Well,
you can just never write us off, can you? You can never. We are absolutely unbelievable in those situations, and you're not going to win it 100% of the time. But the fact that we win those games probably more than what any team in the history of the game has, and then when we don't, we only just go down. It says a lot about us.
well, I heard a stat this morning through our W saying 40% of all McRae's games as coach of Collingwood have been single figures.
Okay.
Goals, 40%. So that's a lot. But we're like I've kind of spoken about the positives, the silver linings. But in the first quarter and a half, well, as you say, we're okay in the back half of the second quarter. But the first quarter and a half, we just couldn't get our hands on the ball. When we did, we couldn't move. They couldn't transition it at all. A bit like previous weeks, even with Schultz flying the flag down there, they did tend their halfback flankers killed us, Rioli and Noble.
Oh, Noble.
They just ran it out of our back line. So they would. And can we win a we'll probably, like I said last week, we're never going to win the clearances against this side. But like we did very poorly, like long no clearances. Isn't it fun how good he's been? And people are already starting to question his spot on the side after one poor game.
Well, what do you think about that? Because it was probably his worst game for the club.
Oh yeah, it was. It was. I think he was playing a little bit more negative than he would normally. Not that he's an attacking machine.
Yeah, he was on rail for a lot of the game and didn't do a good job on him.
No, he didn't do a good job on him. So yeah, but like this problem's been going on for months now. Is Josh Daicos like? Is he? Are we wasting him at half back? I know it's a small sample size, but a couple of years ago, I remember he played a few games in the midfield. And one against Melbourne at the MCG, and he looked good. And was that Geelong game where he got his 38 possessions? Was that in the midfield?
Yeah, so I think we should spend a lot of time talking about Josh Daicos here because that is the biggest talking point out of this game.
We'll talk about it now.
Well, was this might be a little bit, I don't know. Maybe I'm going a little bit over the top by saying this, but I reckon that last quarter from Josh Daicos was the best individual quarter of football I've seen a Collingwood player play in my lifetime. It was unreal. It was let me read out some of the stats. I wish I had them ready here, but I don't have them. Where'd they go? I don't know what I've done with them. But he essentially his last quarter. That's bad.
It was good.
He played a good last quarter. Sorry,
Yeah.
go on.
You heard it here first. He played a good last quarter. Well, while you're looking for your stats, I'll throw a couple of things at you.
I got the stats. Shut up.
Yeah.
All right. So in the last quarter, he had 16 disposals, 12 effective, 311 meters gained, 10 contested possessions, 4 clearances, 2 inside 50s, 5 tackles, 2 goals, 1 score assist, 132 Supercoach points, and 82 fantasy points. That is freaking unreal. And like you touched on just before, there was a game against Geelong in 2023. He had 38 disposals. He was replacing Nick in the midfield. That was when Nick hurt his knee against the Hawks and missed the last few games of the year in the lead up to finals. So he took the responsibility in that Geelong game. 38 disposals. Haven't really seen him back in the midfield since. He was then went back onto the wing and then eventually this year to half back. I love him as a midfielder. I love him as a midfielder. Gary Lyon talked after the game, and I think he wanted to see him stay in the midfield. Matthew Lloyd came out on 3AW and said, from what he's just seen from Josh Daicos, he believes he could be one of the best midfielders in the competition if we were to keep him there. I don't see a reason why we shouldn't, because for weeks we've been talking about on this podcast our backline, and eventually when they're all back, we've got 8 really good defenders. 8 really good defenders. And we've talked about, well, does Perryman eventually, when all of them are back, does he then move back up the ground? I even threw up a few weeks ago, Dan Houston, does he go back up the ground? Well, I think we've got our answer now. As good as Josh has been, and he's been in all Australian form as a halfback flanker, I think our answer is Josh Daicos into the midfield. Perryman and Houston can stay back. But this just means that Dan Houston needs to pull his finger out. Fly needs to pull him aside and say, mate, you're on the big bucks. It's about time you perform. Josh is going into midfield. This is your half back line now. And everything, the way that we go through Josh Daicos off half back this year, that needs to be Dan Houston now. We need to get the ball in Dan's hands. Everything needs to go through him. And there was another disappointing performance from him last night because he had 11 possessions in that first quarter and then ended with another 6 for the last 3. So it looked like he was finally on track, and then he just died out of the game for the last 3 quarters. So we need a lift from Houston, and Josh Daicos is our man alongside Nick Daicos, Pendlebury, and one of Long and Mitchell. Sidebottom and Crisp on the wings. I reckon that is the perfect midfield. I can see you getting frustrated because I've talked for a couple of minutes. So
what you do with these remote calls, do you know I can't talk over the top of you, so you take full advantage. You think, okay, war's my oyster. A couple of things. I think you're a bit tough on Houston. Okay, I think he showed good signs. He was very good with ball in hand last night. Some kicks into the forward line were good. Now, we've primarily been using Josh Daicos at the back as our attacking option. We've been getting the ball into his hands. I think if he does move into the midfield, Houston can just they'll send more ball through Houston, and
that's what I was saying.
Yeah, you'll see he'll get more of it. Serge suggested that I listened to an interview with Darcy Moore on crunch time after last week's game, and I did, and they raised this issue. And he said, well, primarily, we're not a high possession winning side in the back line. Like a lot of sides maybe chip back and forth and rack up the possessions. They just take it forward. They take it forward out the back line, and they primarily do it through Josh Daicos. So I think Houston's doing the job he's being asked at the moment, and I think he can go to a next level. And if Josh goes into the midfield, I think he will see more ball in his hand. When you say we've got 8 good defenders, unfortunately, not enough of them are key defenders. And that brings me to Jeremy Howe. With him possibly, it's a groin injury. Apparently it's not that bad, but I'm hearing at this stage a couple of weeks. The cupboard's pretty, like we didn't go out and target. Like what happened to Kruger in the mid-season draft? Like, was that a missed opportunity?
Well, we shouldn't have got him in the mid-season draft because he should have still been on our list.
Having said that, the guys we did pick up in the mid-season draft, well, one of them is Rowan Steele. He's made his debut, made a good debut, was okay last night. And the other fella who we'll get to in Serge's report had a bit of a day out, and I saw, what's his name again?
Noah House.
I saw him against Carlton the previous week, which had been televised, that game. Good size bloke, moves well, impressed me, and yeah, apparently he did even better the other day.
Yeah, there's no doubt that they're both good, but we need a key defender. We're in a premiership winner now, and Frampton's gone down, and Jeremy Howe's now gone down, and it looks like Charlie Dean's our only option, and he is not it, I don't think, but we're going to have to play him, aren't we?
Well, we're going to have to play him, and And look, talking about key defenders, Darcy Moore. I heard Lee Montagna during the week. He raised an interesting point. He said, "Is he in Australian selection now? Not just his form, but the lack of form of the likes of Wheaterian and Harris hasn't been as good in the second half of the year, and Taylor and so forth. Is he a sneaky Australian? Because he's had a great 6 weeks." I thought he was pretty good yesterday.
I don't think so.
You don't think he wasn't good yesterday, or not for the Australian?
He was okay yesterday. I just think he's still been too up and down. He's had, doing our votes and keeping a close eye on it, he's had patches. He's had 3-4 really good weeks, then 3-4 down weeks, and then a couple of weeks injured, then a couple of weeks where he's no good again, and then a couple of weeks where he is good. That's not good enough to be All-Australian. Unless I don't know who should be All-Australian, because I think Sam Taylor was a lock before the injury. Now he's obviously not going to make it. So no.
No.
Unless we've still got 7 weeks. So if he comes out and he dominates the last 7 weeks, and his last 2 games have been pretty good, then and no one else is performing, then yeah, maybe. But nah.
I'll tell you who might just miss out on the Australian this year.
Go on.
Will Hoskin-Elliott.
Wasn't he awful?
Wasn't it it was a bad night for Will Hoskin-Elliott supporters who have been at me the last few weeks.
Look at you getting stuck into our panel members. I know that's directed at them.
Too much respect for our panel. No. Other people have rung me up, and supporting the hyphen as they call him. It wasn't a bad day.
13 disposals, 8 turnovers. I got the stats here.
That was terrible. But they won't drop him. He'll go on. He'll beat Pendlebury's record. He's never getting dropped from this side. But what I would do with Hoskin-Elliott, I'd send him out on an errand, and then while he's gone, I'd move the headquarters of the club in the hope that he doesn't find us again.
Sorry, can I go back a bit? Can we touch on Josh Daicos again? Because I don't think we talked about him for a little bit. I still don't think we paid him enough respect. When I say he was the story tonight, he really was the story. We've talked about Nick for the last 18 months on this podcast. Well, when I say we, it's me especially, love Nick. But Josh Daicos, we underappreciate him. We really do, because let's just say hypothetically Nick didn't exist. That dark, scary world where there was no Nick Daicos. Everyone would be saying, Jesus, how good is Peter's son Josh? He is an absolute star. He's just been overshadowed by Nick. He hasn't had the same opportunities that Nick Daicos has had. So he's been an All-Australian Premiership player, best and fairest winner on the wing. And then his first half of this year, half-back flank and All-Australian level again. He hasn't had the opportunity that Nick has in the midfield. But the times that he has, last night, for example, he's really taken it. Imagine both of them in there together at their absolute best. It's like, okay, tag Nick Daicos, whatever. You can tag him. We've got Josh in here. And then Josh is playing that well that they decide to put some attention on the Josh. Cool, tag Josh. Nick would just get off the chain again. What's better than having one Daicos in the midfield? It's having 2. And we saw in 2023, Nick Daicos spent the first half of the year at the half-back flank, then second half moved into despite probably being All-Australian half-back flank contention at that point, moved into the midfield, changed everything for us, ended up winning a premiership. Could be the exact same this year with his brother.
Well, a lot of credit has to go to him, because I remember right back before he was drafted, I watched a representative game. I think it was the day before the grand final of whatever year it was. So going back before he was drafted, and is in the representative side along with Taranto and McCluggage. They were both in the same side. They had a game down at Punt Road, and it was televised. And he was only a fringe player of this side. I think they were playing him on a wing. He didn't play very well. As I said, McCluggage, you could see what a champion player he was going to be. And Taranto looked fantastic.
What about Andy McGrath, the number 1 pick? Go, Andy.
Was he in that side? Was he that?
He's Victorian, so
yeah. But he was that age, was he?
Yeah, he was taken by Essendon before Taranto and McCluggage. It was the same draft, yeah.
Yeah, that's a bit of a blue. Well, I think I remember saying at the time, but anyway, just that. So he wasn't up. top of his class back in the day. I think what pick did we get him at?
He went in the 60s and nobody bidded on him. We just picked him as a normal. And that's when people say Collingwood and their father's sons. Well, no one even bidded on Josh. We got him in the 60s.
But he was also he wasn't a long way off. I don't want to over exaggerate the point, but he was under a cloud in his first couple of years at Collingwood. There was a chance he may have been delisted at one point.
Yeah, so he'll admit that. I've heard him speak about it.
Yeah. He had to work really hard on his game, and he's done a great job.
I remember his breakout season. A lot of people forget this, but his breakout season was actually the 2020 year. So that was a long time ago. That's when Bucks put him on a wing for the first time, and he looked fantastic. I think he hit goal of the year that season. And then 2021, Bucks' last year,
half forward.
Put him back as a half forward, and he just couldn't get near it. He's just that was the one thing that Bucks did in his last few years that was really good, finding that position for Josh, and then he just undid it. And then 2022, Fly comes in, and I remember the thing that Fly said was he asked every single one of the players there, "What is your best position?" And Josh told him wing. All right, you're back on the wing. He wanted everyone to play in their best positions. That was. Sometimes coaches just overthink it, and Buck's doing that. That is just overthinking it, man.
Yeah, well, I think for the people back in the day who said, "Yeah, he's a real Daicos, but he's not a proper Daicos," I think they've got their foot out of their mouth.
Obviously, that was you, and it was disgraceful because you said that after he was a best and fairest winner in a premiership year. What is wrong with you?
What surprised me though. Going off Josh Daicos for a moment, if we can.
I don't want to. I want to just sit here and talk about Josh Daicos for the rest of the episode.
But Mason Cox played a good game. I was pretty happy with his game, but I was surprised he was there. I thought the next cab off the rank, if there was going to be a second ruckman brought in, would have been Stein.
Yeah.
But wasn't Stein? Wasn't he emergency a couple of weeks ago, Stein?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
And the Cox, which was just he did a good job though. Mason Cox did a good job, I thought.
His first half in particular, when it wasn't going our way, it was good. He took 6 marks. He was actually clunking them.
Yeah. On the other side of the coin, Cameron, we missed his. I think Wicks did a good job. He wasn't taking his down the line marks, which we missed. He's light of a bad one.
So Jared Witts, this is me putting my fantasy football hat on, and this is the sort of stuff that you wouldn't know, Mick, but I do because I play fantasy sports.
Hold on, but you're not to tell us because I'll put the kibosh on any talk regarding fantasy footy.
Fantasy football gives you a good insight into real football sometimes, and this is one of those times. So just hear me out.
No, but as your father, you respect my wishes, surely.
No, because you're an idiot. So Jared Witts is the hardest ruckman in the competition to play against, hands down. The hardest. He's harder to match up against than Max Gawn and Cherry and all those guys. I'm not saying he's the best, but he's the hardest to match. He's essentially like a ruck tagger, the way that he plays. Every single ruckman that's played Jared Witts for the last couple of years, their numbers have been down, whether it's hit-outs, whether it's contested and intercept marks, any of the stat lines. Jared Witts, he's just got a way to just stop players. He stops Max Gawn, for God's sake. So going into this game, I knew that Darcy Cameron probably wasn't going to have his best game, and maybe that's why they brought Cox in as well. That maybe the coaches would know this kind of stuff. They study everyone, so maybe we need to try and double team Witts. Witts, he doesn't go out and he doesn't take those big intercept marks and as all those star ruckmen do, but he's just very good at stopping his opposition. He's a great player and good Collingwood man. So I still love Wittsy.
Can we lighten up as a society? Please, can we just stop this nonsense? And I'm referring to this death threat in inverted commas against Michael Voss. The world's gone mad. Okay, sure. This guy, it's an attempt at humour. Some people find it funny. I'm sure other people didn't.
Do you know that? Have you read the message?
I've read the message. I have read the message.
When did you read the message?
Yesterday. I read the message.
Has it been released, the message?
It's actually at my phone, but I can't access it at the moment because of the aforementioned all thumbs when it comes to IT. But basically, he said something along the lines of, so he said it to the MCG Dobbin a person phone number. Like, because that's what we do as Australians, we just dob in other people. And he said, I wanted to report 23 missing Carlton players and preemptively the death of Michael Voss, meaning that, Carlton supporters are going to go after him. And they admitted, the authorities admitted this was not a credible threat. So for it to be a death threat, it has to be credible. It just can't say, I'm going to kill you, mate. That's not a credible death threat. And this guy has been banned for 5 years. Can we lighten up as a society, please?
What you're saying actually true? Like, is that a legit message that he sent? Because I haven't heard anything about the message being released.
That's how it was reported yesterday. So he said, I'd like to preemptively, meaning this is going to happen, because meaning once the Carlton supporters get to him, they'll kill him, in inverted commas. That's what it was.
Wow. Okay. No, you're 100% right. That is outrageous.
And what it's about, why we're not lightening up, is because it's all about ass covering. They admit it's not a credible threat, and nobody really thinks it's going to happen. They just think, gee, in a once in a billion chance that something might happen, and I've come across this message and I didn't pass it on to the next guy, then I'm going to be in trouble. So I better pass it on. Then the next guy says, well, I've got this message now. Nothing's going to come of it. It's just a joke. But if I don't do something, then it's going to come back to haunt me in the one in the billion chance something does happen. So all along the line, it's just ass covering. Okay? Lighten up. It's nonsense. It's nonsense. Hey, came across the world's fattest man ever the other day. Now, listen to this story. This is a beauty. The world's fattest man, guy in America, born in the 40s, died in 83. And he was the fattest man by a long way. Like, he was 660 kilograms. The fattest by about 150 kilograms. Okay? This guy, though, decides that he gets motivated to go on a diet. So he goes to the hospital. They help him out. He leaves the hospital having lost 220 kilograms. Okay? He's down to 440. In the first week out of hospital, guess how much weight he put on in the first week?
I don't know.
Play the game. I've gone to a bit of effort here. Play the game.
How much weight did he put on? So he got fatter.
After his first week out of the hospital, having lost 220 kilograms, how much did he put on in the first week?
10 kilos.
93 kilos.
How do you, in how long?
In a week.
How do you put on 93 kilos in a week?
Had a lot of experience. He had a lot of experience, I dare say. Like, I'm 80 kilos, so he put on a big person, a whole big man in a week. That's incredible. I admire that in a way.
Right.
At least he's good at it.
So I want to talk a little bit more about Josh Daicos.
Josh Daicos. When we talk, we can wax lyrical about the world's fattest man.
I want to talk about Josh Daicos because he's the only thing at the moment that's making me happy. He's the only good thing in my life. Bloody hell. I hate losing. And Josh Daicos is bringing me the joy.
You got a minute. Go and then
No. I've said my opinion. I want your opinion now. Does he stay in the midfield or does he go back to halfback flank? And if you want him in the midfield, what would your ideal midfield structure be around him?
That's hard. It's hard because, as we've said in the past, we've got all the names. We've got big names in there, but they're just, as a clearance unit, whatever reason, I don't know what it is, they're not getting it done. Now, I think if you have a surprise move like that, and I think it was a surprise move, Josh going into the midfield, it's probably also a surprise to the opposition. So they're not ready for it. They've got no plans. So it's very different putting somebody in the midfield when the opposition's not expecting it, then starting him in there and them doing it week in, week out.
That's a good point, yeah.
Is Josh going to play that well week in, week out in the midfield? Probably not.
Probably not, but how can you stop two Daicoses? So if they do put attention into Josh, then Nick's going to get off the chain, you would have thought.
What I would like is for him to spend more time in there, yes. I don't know whether he's part of our starting midfield, I don't know, but more time in there, yeah, I reckon that'd be a good idea.
Well, I said it before. Why can't we go with Josh, Nick, Pendles, and then one of Mitchell and Long? They can fight out for last spot. And then guys like Crispy and Sidebottom can play on the wing. DeGoey when he's back can play forward, pinch it in the mid. Like, I think that will work.
Yeah. Well, I think we go back to what we were doing. Oh, I suppose we're still doing that. Just rotate a lot of people through there. When McCreary's back.
Oh, McCreary, I forgot about him. Yes.
He attends a few. Josh, but keep the opposition guessing.
Yeah.
I suppose. Keep them guessing as much as possible because we're just not getting it done at the moment.
Well, Sidebottom was really quiet last night. So I say keep him out on the wing, but he played wing last year and his career looked like it was almost over. He then plays inside mid for the first 10 rounds of this year and he's dominating. Since he's now sort of spent more time out of the midfield, he's starting to quiet up a little bit again. So
yeah,
is that a concern? Does Sidebottom need to be around the ball for the benefit of his form? Like it's like
yeah. I'll tell you what is a concern. And you've told me to tread very carefully on this because apparently we're living in Nazi Germany in 1935.
I just can't be bothered editing mix, so be careful.
Careful what we say, but Bobby Hill is becoming a bit of a concern. Like we don't know what's going on, but let me just say this, okay? We want him to stay at the club. He's an elite small forward in big games. He can win your finals. He can win your premierships. So I preface this by saying I want him to stay. But if it is family issues, as is being reported in some corners,
it's not being reported. It's just social media rumors. Let's just make that clear. Nothing's actually been reported.
Okay, yeah, but let me also make this clear. It's not it's the obvious thing that'll be family issues is the obvious thing. So it's not
the thing about him and his wife. I'm talking about that is just rumors. Like you can't
just indulge me. Okay, just indulge me. Okay, it's not beyond the realms of possibility that the problems he's facing are matrimonial problems. That maybe his wife wants to go back to Western Australia. Okay, so if that's true, I'm saying if it's true, but it's not like it's not an amazing thing to say. It probably is true. That's probably the problems. If she does want to go back, if he goes back, okay, what can we then get for him? Okay, so I'm looking ahead. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I'm just theorising. What could we get? To me, for a player like Bobby Hill, we get a minimum of 2 first rounders, one of those being a top 10. Okay? So a top 10 first rounder and another first rounder. That would make, and what could we get for that? Well, that could be a really good down payment on the likes of Harley Reid, Zach Butters, if he chooses to go, if they choose to go. That would go a long way. You'd need more. I accept that you'd need more than that. But that is a good start. So, I want him to stay. I hope he does stay, but just looking ahead. And as I said, we don't know what's going on, but if this continued, this happened during finals, I would not be too pleased.
Well, let me just say that I've looked into a possible trade myself for Bobby just to discuss on this podcast, and I'll put it out there as well. I do not want this guy to leave the club. Like we saw what he did on Grand Final Day 23. Like he's an absolute star. You look at someone like a Shai Bolton and what Richmond got for him. Bobby's younger, and I reckon not as consistent as what Shai is, but I think his potential is a lot higher than what Shai Bolton's is. So
What did they get? Sorry,
I think they got a couple of first rounders.
Yeah, minimum. That's what you get minimum.
And this guy's a Norm Smith medalist, so like, yes, something like that, potentially a couple of first rounders. But if you're looking at, if we wanted a player as well, so if we want a couple of first rounders and then a player, a guy that's been rumoured to leave, which would be a nice replacement. He's a lot older than Bobby, but where we are at the moment, trying to win a premiership, he could fit in. That's Flying Ryan. So there is talk that Flying Ryan wants out. Yeah. So if we could just get him as well, maybe if it's a first rounder, an early second, and Flying Ryan instead of just 2 first rounders, then I could get around that.
No, I'd want 2 first rounders. How old's Ryan?
He'd be late 20s, maybe even pushing 30. I should have looked that up, but
I've always liked him. He plays with an edge, and he's highly skilled, and he'd be great in a very good side. Oh no, not great. He'd be good in a very good side.
He's 28.
Yeah, no, I like him.
Yeah, because he hasn't done a lot for the last couple of years, but they've been appalling. West Coast. Yeah.
Yeah.
Another thing I was looking at, and this is worst case scenario. So this is Bobby Hill wants to leave, and Darcy Cameron also wants to go back to WA.
Yeah.
Freo aren't gonna get Darcy Cameron because they already got an issue with Jackson and Sean Darcy.
Oh, apparently they want to go to 3 main rucks now. Very excited about that. No other club's gone down this path.
So let's just say worst case scenario, a horrible, dark, scary world that we live in. Both Bobby Hill and Darcy Cameron want out. And they both want to go to WA. Could we trade them both to West Coast as a starting point to get someone like a Harley Reid?
That would be more than a starting point. Like, come on.
Well, so you know, but there's going to be picks going from both ways as well. It's not going to just be those two for Harley Reid. That's what I meant. Yeah.
Well, those two for Harley Reid, I think West Coast almost win that trade. Let's not devalue our own players too much because Harley Reid's on the back page of the Western Australian every week. These guys are still very good players.
Oh, they're stars, but I guess like Darcy Cameron would be in his 30s, and Bobby's a star in his own right. But Harley Reid is, where West Coast are at the moment. West Coast are just building for the future. So like, someone like a Harley Reid would mean you're basically building your team around him because he has the potential to be the next Dusty. And I say potential because we haven't seen it. But again, he's just a kid that's playing in the worst team in the competition. So you got to give him a chance. Like, how long did it take Dangerfield, who's a similar type of player, to break out? It took him a few years at Adelaide to get going. So he's very capable, Harley. Basically, we're giving away 2 stars in this instance, and taking a gamble that we might have the next Dusty. That's basically it.
Do other clubs suffer from illnesses as much as Collingwood does? Or is it because we both Collingwood always watch? It's like a childcare centre down
Can
there.
I stop you? Why do you just ignore what I'm saying? We're in the middle of talking about trades, and then you just change the subject.
Oh, I thought we'd finished.
Oh, I guess.
Harry, you want me to reflect on that? Well, I kind of already did. I think that would be. I think if we were to lose, if it's simply we lose Hill and we lose Cameron and we get Reid, I don't think that's not really quite the win I was looking at. I wouldn't want to give up that much for a Reid.
That's fair. Well, there would be picks thrown around both ways. But before you move on to the illnesses, and the reason I pulled you back a bit is because I got a few more little trade things that I thought I'll talk about while we're talking about trades.
Go ahead.
All right. I want to get your opinion on some of these names that's just been thrown around in the last week. Jake Lever. So just dropped from Melbourne. Apparently he's not happy. Could he be someone that we look at if Jeremy Howe was to retire?
If Jeremy Howe was to retire, yes. He's not exactly the backman we need. As we've been saying, we need more of a lockdown key full back, I reckon, which we should be able to come across without too much trouble, I would have thought. But yeah, he'd be a good replay because he's still, I heard the other day he's like 28, 29. He's younger than I thought he was.
Yeah, he's a good player too.
Yeah, he's a good player. He was dropped. Yeah, as I say, he was dropped a couple of weeks ago. That's surprising. Apparently, he didn't see that coming and he wasn't too happy.
Yeah.
He'd be good. Somebody like a Jacob Ryan, though, in the twos who's just been waiting on how to retire. He wouldn't be too happy.
He's out for the rest of the year as well, Jacob Ryan.
Yeah, but he'll be back next year, of course. No, you'd look at him. But I reckon Howe will go on anyway, by the sounds of it.
Well, I hope so. So, but if Howe if Howe was to go on, you would just not even think about someone like a Lever then?
Oh no! If he was to retire, yes, Lever would.
No, but if he was to play on, Howe would.
If he was to play on, no, I'd rather look at a lockdown. Well, don't rule him out totally, but our focus should be a lockdown full back.
That's Starkovic from Brisbane.
Yep.
Now, was it his uncle that's the 1990 Craig Premiership player?
Yep.
So there is a relation. It's
his uncle. Yeah.
So there's talk that he wants to potentially explore an option to come back to Victoria. I really like him. He's a hard adder. Yeah. So he's kind of like a Maynard, but not as good as Maynard, but he's a similar type.
Yeah. Have we got a lot? We're okay, as we touched on before, for smaller backmen.
Yeah.
Got a
Yeah, we
lot.
are. But I guess when a quality player
Yeah,
thinks about leaving his club, he's got family ties to the club. You guess you can't help but sort of think about it. Like, I don't know. Like,
yeah. Oh, very loose family ties. It was his uncle 30 years ago. So it's just like, yeah.
yeah, it's still.
Yeah.
Like, he probably grew up I don't know for example, but he probably grew up a Collingwood supporter.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Uh,
maybe. Yeah. Yeah.
a couple of other names. So these are guys that we just haven't
Well,
spoken about on the podcast before.
sorry, just for my clarification on Starkovic. Yeah, you'd look at him, but it would come back to the trade, wouldn't it? It would come back to what we had, the deal.
I'm not sure if he's been there a while. I'm not sure if he's a free agent or not. If he's a
Right.
free agent, that could be a good get.
Anyway, come on.
Now, this one probably wouldn't happen, but it makes sense. So with the Tom DeConey, the St Kilda free agency, 1.7 mil, absolute joke. There's talk that Rowe Marshall wants out because he doesn't want to share the ruck. So this is where this sort of just goes to shit. But could you convince him to change his mind about sharing the ruck? Because at the moment, he's always been a capable forward, Rowe Marshall. He's actually, I think, pretty sure he was drafted as a forward. I work with a bloke that's a St Kilda fan, and he rates Marshall as a forward and he really liked it when him and Paddy Ryder were sharing a ruck together. Ryder as the number one
Yeah.
and Marshall more forward. And he said that he would love him to stay at the club and see that partnership again, but with TDK. Doesn't look like he wants that to happen though, Rowan Marshall. He wants the responsibility as being the number one man. But
Yeah.
if we were to come to him and say, bro, like, come to the Pies, you'll be the number two still, but you get to play for Collingwood in all these big games. We're in premiership contention. That's surely going to be more appealing than being the second ruck at St Kilda. So nothing changes other than the fact that you're going from St Kilda to Collingwood, which I guess is a big change. Because as we're spoken about, the second ruck is a little bit of a concern for us. Like, Dan McStay's done an okay job, but if we could potentially get Marshall in to play as a forward ruck and Darcy be our number one man, then could that be a good option?
But of course, is that as attractive as being the number one ruck at Geelong and being given prime farming land? Like it
That's a good point. Yeah,
it was for a team also in premiership contention.
but just looking at it from a Collingwood point of view, that could be a good player to target if we wanted a forward and second ruck.
Yeah.
The last guy I've got on here, it's a guy that we spoke about quite a bit earlier in the year, not so much recently. I just can't stop thinking about Kawatumi weeks ago, saying that Collingwood have a big fish locked in. Well, Collingwood believed they got a big fish locked in. He just wasn't sure who it was. And since then, Matt Rowe's re-signed, and the Bonds is basically about to re-sign. And you're just thinking, who could this guy be? Like, I don't think it's going to be Butters Mick, not this year anyway. I just strongly believe that everything is pointing to Christian Petrarca, and it's just not getting talked about anymore. I don't think he will be there next year. He hasn't had an amazing year, which is kind of good in a way because his trade value is now lower than what it was even in the last off season. And you put him in a good team like Collingwood. Like it depends what we have to give up for him.
Yeah.
But Jesus, I would love a Christian Petrarca in there.
Yeah, it comes down to the trade. Wouldn't want to give a hell of a lot for him because, as we said, his last year was obviously ruined by the injury. He hasn't been as good this year, serviceable. Haven't seen a lot of Melbourne games, but just from what I hear around. When I have watched him, he's very much a hacker of the football. Like, I know McRae likes good kicks. Like, if you want to hack the football like that, you go down to Princess Park.
See, I'm not convinced that he's go down to Princess Park. Good one. I'm not convinced that he is a hacker. I believe Oliver is.
Yeah. Well, he's not like it might be a bit unfair to describe him as a hacker, a guy who was able to nail 4 goals in the grand final.
I was literally about to say, go back and watch the 21 grand final.
But he does have a tendency to. He's not a beautiful user. Let's just put it that way. He's not a beautiful user of the football. And that doesn't as Paige said on our panel the other day, when Collingwood look at players, that's high up on their list, ability to kick the ball.
Then what's this love with Will Hoskin Elliott then? If we love good kicks so much, why is he getting the game? Some of his kicking last night was Jesus Christ.
that one on the out in the full. He's not a demonstrative guy, is he? Hoskin Elliott. You don't see him really high earlier, but he was so pissed off with himself after he kicked that on the floor. I've never seen him like that. He was just so angry at himself.
I don't think it's a big statement. He's no chance of staying in the 23, is he? Once everyone's back, like he just like most of these teams that when people put in their best 23 together, they've even got a Lipinski or a Mitchell or a Long or someone like that missing out, like a really good player. So if they're missing out, then like Hoskinelli just can't be a chance.
Sorry, you just reminded me of something. Richard from Sleepy Hollow contacted the program during the week, and he wants to put it on record. He is not jumping on the Lipinski bandwagon. He's watching the Lipinski bandwagon career down the road. He's waiting for it to overturn. He reckons. He said the guy, he doesn't do the pressure. He doesn't put his head over the ball. He doesn't tackle. Doesn't do this.
His tackle numbers have been really good lately.
He said, "Yeah, I'm just quoting Richard from Sleepy Hollow, and he thinks that he doesn't do the non-negotiables." All right. So, and he also called me uncouth. By the way, he's been listening to the program, and he didn't say much about you and your swearing, but he called me uncouth. So he would have hated the toilet language at the start of the show, I'm sure.
I still can't believe you opened with that, but
so there he goes. His distance. Richard from Sleepy Hollow is not on the Lipinski bandwagon. All right, I have to clarify that.
All right, so, move on to your illnesses, Mick.
My illnesses. Is it just because we follow Collingwood, so we're more sensitive to news from Collingwood? But they always seem to be sick down there, and it's been going on for years. You got glandular fever and the flu, and some guys got tuberculosis, and it just goes on and on. What is it? Do you reckon it's more than other clubs, or?
I reckon it is more than other clubs, yes. But I reckon it's good management from our coaches that if anyone's even got a bit of a sniffle, stay away from the club. Stay away from the club because we don't want to risk everyone else. I honestly reckon that's what it is. I reckon we've learned a lot from COVID times because it was originally Sidebottom. Schultz was also sick, so he missed a week of his rehab when he was coming back from his hamstring. Both Daicos this week. Ash Johnson missed his return to the VFL last week. Apparently, Bobby Hill is sick, and this is what I'm confused about. Bobby Hill, is it the personal reasons or is it the illnesses? Because when they asked him Fly about it in his weekly press conference, he kind of said both. He said, personal reasons, but he's sick. And
yeah.
Okay, well, if it wasn't sick, was he going to play this week? I didn't really get we didn't get a good answer from that. So, but apparently he's sick too. So, I reckon Darcy Moore is another one, apparently, because Josh Daicos was meant to go on AFL 360, pulled out. Darcy Moore was meant to replace him, and he pulled out. So yeah, but most of these guys end up playing. Obviously, not Sidebottom or Ed Allen, who I left out as well, where he was out sick last week. But most of them do end up playing. So I reckon we're just very, very cautious, which is probably a good thing.
Yeah.
Can I touch on something with the actual game itself? There's one thing that I want to talk about from the game that we haven't touched on. Scott Pendlebury, like Jesus Christ, like we got a little look in that first half of what life would be without Scott Pendlebury, and it wasn't good. And then the moment I know that this is the Josh Daicos legacy game. Like he's the one that almost single-handedly pulled us over the line, but his mate there, Pendles, was huge as well. Like, we just see him so much. He's just so calm and cool, and he just makes the right decisions, Scotty Pendlebury. He's just... There was that one kick that's... he set up Josh. I think it was Josh's first goal. Yeah, that kick was unreal. Like, how did he pull that off? How did he first see Josh there and then actually execute? It was just... He helped turn that game, Scott Pendlebury. He really did.
Yeah. I don't fear that no Pendlebury, no Collingwood. Last year, it was a case of no Nick Daicos, no Collingwood. So I don't think we rely on him because we still had a lot of players out. See, so you look at our injury list and we've got probably another 5 or 6 guys who should walk back into that side. So we are missing them. It wasn't just Pendlebury being out.
But you have to admit, we did look a lot better with Pendlebury in there.
Well, he's still probably our second best player.
I reckon third. I reckon Nick, Josh, and then
maybe
yeah,
top 2. But Yeah, as I said before, I'm not overly worried about. I just don't think we'll fully. I don't think we're fully invested into this game. I think because we rested a few, as you say, we had Pendlebury on the bench in the first half. So I'm not overly worried. I tell you who. But no, your point's well made on Pendlebury. He is fantastic. He's just an incredible player. But I tell you, Ed Allen chose a bad week to be out sick because he lost his place to Rowe and Steele, didn't he? Basically, they did, and he did well. I see. Well, you told me last night he got 27 possessions in the VFL, and Serge reckons he played a good game there. But hopefully he can get back in. Because
I think he's a better option than Rowan Steele. I just don't think we wanted to drop Steele after his debut game where he was quite good. But go on. Well, now's a good segue for you to get into Serge's VFL reports.
This is what the pressure's on, so I have to try to negotiate this. So bear with me, listeners and viewers, while I negotiate this. It's all going well so far. Hold on.
I'm just watching you. You look so locked in here.
Okay, so we're going to take. It's also these glasses are a bit. I can't quite read this right. It's a bit small.
What age did you start wearing glasses?
No, I am wearing glasses, but I need to get my eyes checked because these glasses aren't.
No, I said, what age did you start wearing them?
Oh, what age?
Yeah.
Oh, about 50, 40.
Yeah, I just don't really remember you going from a non-glasses person to a glasses person. It just doesn't really stick out in my mind. But anyway, I'm sure I would have made fun of you when you started wearing them.
Yes, I'm sure the listeners are fascinated by this. 23-minute mark in the last quarter, okay? It was a couple of points difference at quarter time. So the Pies, through hard running and intercept marking from Dean, Cochrane and Glover, stand out in defence. I saw Glover the previous week against Carlton. He's a good player, this guy. Maybe, I'm not sure if he was ever a chance in mid-season. He's not on our list. He's on the VFL list.
I think he's our captain. He's been on our list for a few years.
Yeah.
VFL list.
He's not on the AFL list.
No, he's not. No.
He's not AFL listed. Anyway, never gave up and continued to rebound. Suns attack. Keep on rebounding Suns attack, ensuring the Suns lead was not extended. Probably should be a comment in there, Serge. You want a comment in there at some point?
Get on with it, Mick. Leave him alone.
Around the ground, Gray, Allen, Kennedy, Marnie, and Algieri, I think you pronounce it, provided the Suns with plenty of headache. And after several missed opportunities, Harry Marnie finally scored to reduce the Suns' lead. Minutes later, Max Marnie, my wife's calling me.
Michael,
she's calling me. The screen's gone off. Hold on. And I was going so well. Hold on.
No, well, to begin with, you weren't. You don't have to read out everything word for word. You can just give us some snapshots of what Serge just said. Because Serge is fantastic. He writes up the greatest report you could possibly see. The Pies Nation boys will be lucky enough to get to read it too. And that's but we can't read it all, Mick. Just pick the important things.
It was going well. I was almost finished. This is a good summary of the last 7 minutes because it's a close game. So where were we?
Yeah, but okay.
Just leave it to me. So the Marnies are from Mansfield in Victoria. I learned last week in the Carlton game. Two brothers, very handy around goals. So Max Marnie put us in front. Pies now by 2 points. Edge of the seat stuff. A Dimataya goal, I think that's how you pronounce it. Minutes later from Brandy Gray's centre clearance sealed the games. The Suns quickly responded with goals to reduce the lead to 2 points. In the final seconds, clever work by Gray enabled the Pies to win the final clearance, driving us forward into attack, and we won the game. Okay, this was a through-in encounter, a good win that resulted from the Pies.
Can you get your big finger out of the way?
Sorry, I'm trying. Highlights: attacking the corridor and efficiency in front of goal. Noah Howes, the mid-season pickup we spoke about earlier, breakout game, kicking 5 goals from 14 disposals, 5 marks and 2 tackles. Ed Allen, as we said, 27 possessions, 4 marks, 2 tackles and 8 clearances. Ash Johnson's return, 1 goal, 11 disposals, 3 marks. Algieri's goal, if that's how you pronounce it, and Steen's mark in the second term were highlights. And Max Marnie's mark and Di Mattia's goal in the final quarter. Charlie Dean, 20 disposals, 6 marks, 1 tackles, Gray's efforts, So what else have we got?
You
Hold on.
move your finger.
Yeah, I'm reading it. So yeah, that's about it. Thanks for that. Best AFL list. Ed Allen was the best. Noah Hayes, Dean Marn, the Marnie brothers, Algieri, and Kennedy were amongst our best. You're right. I should do this because I nailed that.
No, you did. Okay, here's an idea. So this week when Pies and Nations podcast comes out, give it a listen and
Yeah.
listen to how Nico reads the VFL report and
Yeah.
maybe learn something from him because you're just babbling. Like Serge's work is amazing, but somehow you're making it sound boring. I reckon we've just
Hold on.
lost 90% of our listeners because Marnie, he kicked a goal. He's pretty dangerous and that's it. No, AFL best, Ed Allen.
No, in
get your
fact,
shit together, Mick.
in my defence, a couple of things outside my control. Number one, Serge failed to put that comma in, and that threw me. Come on, Serge, you're better than that. Okay, grammar's important. And secondly, I got the phone call right in the middle, and it went off the screen.
Yeah, but for the rest of it, it was just you were all over the place. One, you don't need to read so much. Don't just give us a few of the important dot points because
I wanted to read the highlights of the last 7 minutes because I think Serge built it up nicely.
he did, but you're not capable of being able to read it in an interesting way. Thanks for that, Serge. I'm sorry about Mick.
There you go. I just had no. Maybe we should get Serge to. No, we'd be imposing on his time. We inject Serge's report. He reads it out, and we put it in later. He pre-records it, and we whack it in.
The only issue with that is sometimes we record 24 hours after, so sometimes he might not have enough time.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, don't worry about that idea. There you go. All right, nailed that. Next, what's next?
All right. Well, look, we've been talking a while, so let's get into the Julian Rowe medal.
He's been pretty good, Julian Rowe. He's been better than pretty good. He's been a forward that has presented for them today.
All right. You know what I did leave out of Hot Topics? If Nick Daicos and Ned Long and some of these guys could get the free kicks to bloody Matt Rowe and Noah Anderson, God, then geez, we'd be laughing. Absolutely protected. That plastic club is just protected by the umpires. But anyway, I gave 42 votes. So I gave 4 votes to 2 players. One of them being Tim Membry, who had the 12 disposals, 5 marks and 2 goals. I think he was solid. He's one of the guys that I really wanted to give votes to last week against Carlton and couldn't fit him in. So that kind of pushed him over the line this week with a solid outing and 2 goals in a game where we didn't kick many goals. Like that's still an impressive effort. The other player I gave 4 votes to was Braden Maynard. I could guarantee Mick wouldn't give him any because he hates Maynard. He had the 17 disposals, 5 marks, 552 metres gained, and 7 intercept possessions. I then gave 5 votes to Lockie Schultz. He had the 10 disposals, 7 tackles, 8 score involvements, and 1 goal won. And he just tried his heart out for those 4 quarters. Even when we were playing badly in the first half, he was just attacking the ball, attacking the man like a madman. He was outstanding. I love what Lockie Schultz is bringing to the team this year. So hopefully he can have a good run with his body. I gave 2 players 6 votes, one being Jamie Elliott. He had the 12 disposals, 8 score involvements, and 3 goals, 3. And that clutch goal at the end there, Nick, to put us in front, they're the ones that you've been criticising him about for a long time. And he's just embarrassed you this year because he's done that multiple times. The other player I gave 6 votes to was Nick Daicos. Still a solid game from Nick, despite being overshadowed by his brother, which you don't often say. But he had the 26 disposals, a team high 6 clearances, 512 metres gained, and 8 score involvements. I then gave 7 votes to Scott Pendlebury. Despite only playing a half of football, I just thought he was huge in getting us back into this game. And these stats that I'm about to read, just remember, it's only from a half of football. So 17 disposals, 7 contested possessions, 3 clearances, 4 inside 50s, 271 metres gained, 4 score involvements, and a goal assist. And then I've given Josh Daicos 10 votes. And Mick, I don't want you to answer now. I want you to build it up. If you don't give Josh Daicos 10 votes, then you're never going to give a 10. Because I think, like I said, that was the best quarter of football I reckon I've seen from a Collingwood player in my lifetime. He was just outrageous. And as good as that last quarter was, he was actually good right throughout the whole game. He had an equal game high 32 disposals, a team high 14 contested possessions. He had 7 tackles. He had 5 clearances. He had an equal team high 5 inside 50s. He had a team high 660 meters gained. He had 6 intercept possessions. He had a game high 10 scoring involvements. He had a goal assist and he had 2 goals won. So they're his full stats. I read his last quarter stats before. It was just a performance that will be remembered forever. And it's just a shame we didn't win, because if we won, then it really would have been talked about forever, this Josh Daicos performance. He was incredible. The best game that Collingwood players played this year, and he deserves the 10. So to recap, Josh Daicos 10, Pendlebury 7, Nick Daicos 6, Elliott 6, Schultz 5, Maynard 4, and Membry 4.
Okay, well, I have been in effect silenced by Dermot. These are basically his votes when I'm about to read out, because I was, as discussed last week, I was going to give Perryman 3 default votes.
I said you weren't allowed. Did you hear the news that came out about Perryman after you said that?
Yes. Apparently, it was a mistake that he got those 5 coaches' votes the previous week. The Geelong, sorry, not who was the side we played? Whoever the opposition were didn't know the difference between Perryman and Pendlebury.
So he got it taken off him.
Yeah, you got to take it off and give him back to Pendlebury. But it's so he's banned me from giving him 3 default votes a week, much in the same way as he stopped me giving Will Hoskin Elliott negative votes last week in last year in some games. So the following votes are basically Dermot's votes.
Shut up.
So Josh Daicos 8.
Oh, 8. These aren't my votes. I'm distancing myself. 8 votes. He couldn't even get fucking 9. Oh, go on. We'll talk about it after you've done your votes.
Josh Daicos 8, Nick Daicos 7, Pendlebury 5, Elliott 5, Moore 5. I thought he was good. Schultz 5, Cox 4, Membry 3, for a total also of 42. Also,
so once again, no Maynard. Has it come to the stage now where you'll now give it Mason Cox more votes than Maynard for the year? you just hate him so much.
So, Josh 8, Nick 7, Pendlebury 5, Elliott 5, Moore 5, Schultz 5, Cox 4, Membry 3.
Do you honestly believe that there was a 1 vote difference between Josh and Nick? Come on, Michael. Like, nobody loves Nick Daicos more than me, but this is Nick Daicos bias right here.
No, I think Nick was more of a 4-quarter game. I thought he contributed every quarter. I know he was off for a bit, where Josh early wasn't hurtful in his disposals. Huge last quarter, of course. And
Hold on. I think he was going, at some point in the last quarter, he was going at 92% for the game. So to say that his possessions weren't hurting us in the first half was just nonsense.
Yeah, so the last quarter took him from a 5 to an 8. So, good game. Best on ground. What more do you want me to say?
That's just ridiculous. Like, to not even, I was hopeful that you would show him the respect of a 10, but if you gave him a 9, I would have just been okay with that. And 8 is disrespectful. Like, you need to just the eye test, Mick. The game was over. We're 40 points down halfway through the third quarter. Hadn't kicked a goal. This guy goes into the midfield and almost gets us over the line. Single-handedly gets us over the line. That is more than an 8-vote game. Like, you talk about doing it when it matters. He did it when it mattered. It's not his fault that we didn't get up. He did everything he could. That's crap voting by you. But still, funnily enough, probably doesn't make the top 5 for the worst rounds of your voting for the year. Last week was definitely number 1. And I really question you watching the game sometimes. Do you watch it?
I got vomit. I got a couple of things.
Oh, do you?
Yep, throw in I got vomit.
All right, here it is. I got vomit.
When people get winded on the ground, do they go, "Ugh"? Does that still happen a lot?
Do you want me to test it out?
No, because I remember when I used to get winded, you lie on the ground and all you hear is
Right. You need to talk. It is your...
Oh, sorry, I wasn't looking for my cues. These aren't huge issues, just a couple of little things. More like gagging than a full-on vomit. But I was watching Midweek Tackle during the week, which is a program on Fox hosted by Herald Sun journalists, Scott Gullen and a few others. And Scott Gullen was talking about Max Holmes from Geelong. I'm not sure if you heard this. And he's recounting a story that got back to him. I'm not sure it was directly from Max Holmes, that at the age of 15, Max Holmes was told by a recruiter that he was too small and too slow and was never going to make it. Okay, that was at 15. By the time the draft came around, a couple of years' time, he'd grown 20 centimetres and picked up a bit of pace. And he refused to be interviewed. That guy who told him that was still a recruiter at one of the clubs, refused to be even interviewed by that club. Now, keep in mind, Scott Gullen is a journalist. Isn't it a journalist's job to tell us what happened? Okay? So Scott Gullen said, I'm not going to name the player or the club. Why not? It's an interesting point. Why wouldn't he?
The player was Max Holmes. What do you mean?
Sorry. He's not going to name the recruiter or the club.
Okay.
But why wouldn't he? Because it's not defamatory. He wouldn't be defaming them by saying that. Isn't he, as a journalist, shouldn't he be reporting what actually happens? And isn't that something that happened? And isn't that of public interest? So why would Scott Gullen not name the recruiter or the club? I found that annoying. Just don't tell the story at all, Scott Gullen, if you're not going to go to full hog and tell us who it is. Like, I'd like to know, was that a Collingwood recruiter who said that to him? So I thought that was pretty piss weak sitting on the fence journalism. That's good. Yeah, that's good. The AFL, Laura Kane, and I've spoken about this before.
Yes, Laura Kane bashing. Woo!
I know, look, I'm not going to... It's more the AFL as a whole. They pick and choose what rules they invoke and when they follow their own rules and when they don't follow their own rules. As we said, last year they changed the holding the ball rule halfway through the year. Okay? And this year they changed the goalpost in regards to making umpire contact. It's gone fine to a potential. We spoke about this last week.
Did you see the one in the Carlton Brisbane game? Jesus.
I'm on a flow here. I'm on a flow. Don't interrupt the flow, for crying out loud. Don't interrupt the flow. Okay. Now I've lost my spot. So we've gone from a fine to a possible suspension now. So they're moving the goalposts mid-season when they see fit. But a few months ago, when Laura Kane was on Gerard Whateley's program on SEN, and he put to her this business about, if you get suspended, it's when you get reported, it's either going to be a 3-week suspension or you're going to get off. There's no 1 or 2 weeks. And she conceded, yes, that's wrong. That's something we're going to look at, but we're going to look at it at the end of the year. At that stage, you had another 12 weeks, 13 weeks of the season to go. So she was quite happy to sit back and for the next 2/3 of the season, watch players potentially being rubbed out for 3 weeks when they shouldn't be. So she's happy for injustices to occur.
Probably why she's been demoted.
So what she's saying is we can't change that rule mid-season. But you've changed the other ones mid-season. What's the difference? I don't understand. Dermot asked me to pick my best 23 during the week. He rang me up and he said, pick your best 23. And he said, I've sent you mine. Use that as a guide. Use that as a guide. Isn't that insulting?
You don't know much about the game.
That's so patronising.
And just for listeners, he didn't have Tim Membry in there, so his hatred of Tim Membry continues.
Use that as a guide, he says.
He did have Ed Allen in there, though, and we all know I love Ed Allen, but that was a little bit of a surprising pick.
Yeah.
Not sure many people would have Ed Allen ahead of Membry. No, different positions, yes, but still.
That's it. I have no more.
It's time for Who Am I? Alrighty, who am I? Who am I? So this is your chance because I wasn't able to get the quote Jamie Turner one last week, James Manson, which
was that one of our only? I think you're even though you were leading, you're the only one who hasn't who has failed to not pick at all get the player eventually. So I might jump in at 4 votes and get it wrong, but I'll eventually get it right at 2 points or 1. You've missed out on Andrew Shawball.
That one, yes. I'm taking the last one as a win because in my head I was thinking James Manson.
Well, but if in your head you're thinking James Manson, why didn't you say James Manson?
Because I got the names mixed up. Anyway.
Right, go ahead.
Whatever. Let's see. So I've still got a 17-11 lead. So let's see if you can pin that back a little bit. All right. Who am I? For 5 points. I was drafted to the Pies with pick 60 in the 2003 National Draft from Old Carey in Victoria.
Old Carey 2003. So yeah, he's going to have been born mid-80s. So he'll now be 40-ish. Pick 60 in 2003. Old Carey in Victoria. Once again, a very, very generous individual, Dermot, with your this old Carey. So he's, what did I say? He's about 40. He'd be about 40 now, you'd reckon, because he would have been born mid-80s. I'm guessing. Audio. No. Nobody's going to. That's nonsense.
Have you had one? Who am I? We haven't.
I've gone through the last 25 years of my life knowing. Oh yeah, I know who was picked 60 in 2003. From Old Carey, Victoria. How could you not know that?
You know that it's for 5 points. It's meant to be hard. Sometimes your 5-point ones are way too easy. Maybe I'm too hard and you're too easy. We need to try and find a middle ground for 5 points, but it's not easy.
What we should do is get a neutral person to write the clues. You get consistency then.
Yeah, it wouldn't be too bad because I find it quite annoying. I put this together last minute, last night. So
we might do that next year.
Maybe.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm assuming you're not guessing anyone.
No, let's move on to 4 points.
It dropped at my home. For 4 points, I would debut in round 14, 2004 against the Hawks and would play 8 games in my first season, showing good signs in the midfield, on the wing, and at half forward.
Right, 2004 against the Hawks, so he's about 19. Midfielder, 2004. What were we doing in 2004? We lost the premiership in 2003. 2004, I think we missed the finals, didn't we? We were pretty crap.
We missed it in 04, 05, yeah.
Yeah, we're pretty crap. It's a... I've had a mental... Julian Rowe was later, of course, wasn't he? Much later. Julian Rowe.
The famous Julian Rowe medalist.
Yeah, the famous Julian Rowe medalist. He was later, wasn't he? Julian Rowe, surely. Like he was like 2008, 2009 era.
I'm not helping you.
I reckon. Okay, so some midfielder. Read the clue again for the listeners at home.
I would debut in round 14, 2004 against the Hawks and will play 8 games in my first season, showing good signs in the midfield, on the wing, and at half forward.
Midfield and wing. Oh, Jesus. I don't know. I don't know.
I'm happy that I get to read that question again, just for you to say I don't know. All right, for 3 points. In 2005, I would become a regular member of the team, playing 16 games. My best game would come against Adelaide in round 2, where I finished with 17 disposals and a goal.
17 disposals. This isn't how I roll. This isn't my bag. Complaining isn't my bag. But these are horrible. So you expect me to get it 3 points from you telling me he kicked a goal against Adelaide in 2005 after having got 17 possessions. Come on. Bad income. So, read it again. Jesus.
In 2005, I would become a regular member of the team, playing 16 games. My best game came against Adelaide in round 2, where I finished with 17 disposals and a goal.
Oh, yeah, that's a break. You remember that like you remember Jez's mark. And, oh, no, I don't. Could be anyone. Could
All
be.
right, we're moving on.
Go to 2 points.
Unfortunately, 2006 will be my...
I'd have a nap while you read this stuff. Yeah.
Unfortunately, 2006 will be my last in the AFL. I was delisted after only 2 senior games that year, taking my total career tally to 26 games and 8 goals. Although I would end up enjoying a 7-year career for Port Melbourne in the VFL.
Port Melbourne in the VFL. So he played 26 games with us.
Mm-hmm.
His highlight being a goal in 17 against Adelaide. 26 games. But he went on to play Port Melbourne in the VFL. I watched the Port Melbourne a bit in the VFA days, back in Freddie Cook's day.
You were a Port Melbourne supporter, weren't you?
I was a Port Melbourne supporter back in the 80s with Freddie Cook and the like. But I wasn't watching a lot of them by this stage. Port Melbourne. Am I thinking this?
Sorry,
Is this a David? Is this Collingwood's David King? Is this Collingwood's David King? Because North Melbourne's David King played a lot of footy with Port Melbourne.
Did he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he's a Port Melbourne man before he got to North Melbourne.
Okay.
Yeah. Should I risk it for one? Should I go for David King?
As in the Collingwood David King, not the North Melbourne.
The Collingwood David. Well, yeah. Well, the other David King had nothing to do with Collingwood. So, he went on to play how long with Port?
7 years at Port Melbourne.
7 years at Port Melbourne.
I'm pretty sure, I couldn't find this information, but I'm pretty sure he was their captain for a lot of it. But that's not an official part of the question because I'm not 100% sure on that.
Right. Okay.
If that helps you.
Okay, rightio. I might have to go to a point. I'm thinking David King, and it's just a guess because it could be just anyone. This is just such a general. These clues have been just so general in nature.
Wait, are you looking it in or not? I don't know what you're trying to say.
Well, no, I'm going to go to 1 point because I'm not. David King's just a stab. He's just a stab.
You're right, Michael. You're gonna catch this lead by getting the 1-pointers.
Well, at least at least it's better than 0. Go 1 point.
All right. For 1 point. My career highlight is
We've already discussed his career highlight. It's a goal in 17 possessions against Adelaide in 2005. Go ahead.
My career highlight is getting an award named after myself on a podcast that has an incredibly talented, handsome host and a painfully annoying father.
I said, at what point did I say that?
Like 4 or something.
Oh, Jesus, why didn't I say it?
Hey, do you want to take... You haven't said it yet.
Julian Rowe.
I am Julian Rowe. Into the Woods' very own Julian Rowe. And see, these questions make more sense. This 2005 game, the one against Adelaide...
That's the recording.
That's the recording. It's on our podcast every single week.
He's been good, Julian Rowe, Gary Lyons says.
Every single week we play.
He's been a forward who has presented. Didn't he kick more than one goal in that game?
He only kicked the one. That was the one. He put us in front.
Well, what's Gary Lyon going on about?
Well, he took 17 disposals. He actually took 10 marks that game as well. He played a good game, apparently. That was his big performance. So when you're going off about these questions, it's literally on our podcast every single week. Every single week.
I said it. I said Julian Rowe.
You did. So my questions can't be that bad if he entered your mind after 4. So I want an apology.
No. I'm too angry.
This is like the Jesse White thing all over again.
All right. All right. I'm done.
All right, so next week, we play Freo. I can't believe already up against Freo again at the MCG. It doesn't feel that long ago that I was at that game over in WA, but here we are again, up against the Dockers. Hopefully, will Bo McCreary be back? I'm just trying to think of guys that could be back. Bo, he would be touch and go, wouldn't he?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm still in the. Yeah. How many games does he miss now?
I reckon he did it against St Kilda, didn't he?
Yeah, he missed 3 games, has he?
Yeah, that's been yeah.
Well, they might continue to be conservative because I think they're haunted by their medical decisions that they made last year. They cocked up so many times. So I think they're being extra cautious. So I don't reckon. My gut feel is he won't come back next week.
I hope he does, but
But he's
yeah,
done a few hammies now, hasn't he?
I think he's done a couple of soft tissue. I'm not sure hamstring, but it may be. Yeah. We'll get a couple. We'll get Myercheck and Lipinski back after they were rested. Pendles will play his full game. Bobby Hill, who the hell knows? I'm not sure if he missed last week through illness or through personal reasons. We didn't get a good answer there. So there's a few that could potentially come back. I'd say no to Billy Frampton, unfortunately. I don't think he's ready yet, which we desperately need him back because Howe will be out. So a big game for Charlie Dean. You think Dean would be a lock to come in? And they've got a pretty tall forward line. They've got Tracy, they've got Amiss, and then they've got the rest in ruck as well. And then the galloping pony as well. What's his name again?
Voss.
Yes, Voss. So yeah, another team with kind of a tall forward line.
The prancing pony.
The prancing pony, that's right, yes.
That's a great nickname. Love a good nickname.
So he was on Essendon's list and he was delisted after not playing 8 games.
Yeah, I did know that, yeah.
Another great decision by Essendon. But yeah, so they're tall, and we're only going to have Darcy Moore. No Howe, no Frampton. It's going to be a bit. I reckon if Moore can do the job next week, he'll be polling very highly in the Julian Rowe medal. I reckon he's got a lot of pressure on him. But yeah, hopefully this is a breakout game that Charlie Dan needs. Like we need him to stand up.
Well, do we go with Michael's suggestion of last week in throwing one of the key forwards back?
Well, actually, I can't believe we didn't mention this. So that's a good one. Dan McStay, that was a bad miss. Like Ned Long, that was an awful miss as well. McStay's was even worse. Like when we lose by a goal, I point the finger at those two. Like that was just not good enough. I know there were some bad misses in the first, but there were misses in the first half, but none of them were appalling. Those two in the last quarter were appalling.
Well, I wasn't surprised he missed that. He's missed a few of those over his time at Collingwood. I kind of thought to myself, I reckon he'll miss this, and he did.
I actually had the same thought because he's normally 90% of the time he's actually a beautiful kick for goal. Yeah. That 10% time though, he just gets it wrong.
Yeah, he gets it wrong. But also that didn't hurt us too much because it went straight back in, and Schultz kicked the goal. It was almost a bonus point.
That was a good kick from Schultz as well.
Yeah,
good mark, good kick. Yeah.
So they kind of cancel each other out. So it was, as I said, if anything, it was a bonus point in a close game. So,
but that Ned Long one, like when you're in a 50-50 competition against Tom Mitchell for that spot, you're going to be wanting to nail them. Like I've still got Ned Long in front. I'm not saying drop Ned Long, but he's got to have a huge 7 weeks right now because Tom Mitchell wasn't as good as he was against Carlton, but he still ended up with 11 tackles. He's still playing his role, Tommy Mitchell. So. But back to your question, do we put one of these key forwards back, a McStay or a Myercheck on? No, not to begin with. I would pick Charlie Dean. If we're getting slaughtered, then maybe we'll have to move one back. Yeah. During the game.
I don't think they do. I think they will play Cox again, and I reckon that our resting ruckman will spend a fair bit of time in the back line.
I don't reckon we will, because by going Cox, Cameron, and then the 3 key forwards, that's essentially doing what we did against West Coast.
Sorry, not the resting ruckman. The ruckman will spend a lot of time in the back line.
So you're going in with the same sort of structure as we did against West Coast, which just didn't work. It's way too many talls.
I can't remember the structure.
Because Myercheck's got to come back in.
Yeah, I'd have to think about this. But either way, I think our ruckman's going to be spending a lot of time in their back line.
If Cox does play, it means one of Membry, McStay, or even Cameron is being rested. That's the only way Cox plays, I reckon.
Anyway. I got things to do.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll let you go in a second. I'm sorry, you're such a busy man. This has been a long pod. I feel like we actually talk more when we lose. I feel like there's just more to discuss when we lose, and we haven't lost much this year. Tips.
Fremantle, MCG, isn't it? Pies. I was actually I was still impressed with Collingwood yesterday. Pies by 17.
I'll go Pies by 30. I reckon 5-goal win. I reckon everyone seems to be relaxed. Like, I'm not concerned about last night. I'm disappointed. I'm really disappointed because it would have been a fantastic win, but I'm not concerned. Like you said, I don't think bad. It was very unusual to go 2.5 quarters without a goal. That will never happen again. And we still almost won the game. We got the lead. We had a lot out, and Pendlebury only there for half a game as well. And they would at full strength, they would have been close to it. I know Sam Collins wasn't there, but other than him, I reckon they would have been pretty close to full strength up there. They're a good team these days. But in saying that, I'm also don't want to get too ahead of ourselves. We dropped this game. Let's just say hypothetically, we dropped this. We rest a few more this game. We drop it. We've lost back-to-back games. Brisbane win another. All of a sudden, we're only half a game.
Yeah.
Top of the ladder again. It can change quickly.
Yeah,
so we still need to continue to bank these wins. We got to 14. We've locked ourselves in the finals. Well, we now need to lock ourselves in the top 4 and then top 2. We still need to bank these wins. So the gap has just tightened up a little bit after last night. Still got a bit of a gap, but let's just not get too ahead of ourselves. Let's just keep on going, bank the wins, because if we don't win this one, then there will be some kind of concern.
Yeah, I can see Julian Rowe playing for Old Carey. Isn't that private schoolboy territory? I could picture that. Anyway, all right.
Can I also just put it out there to our listeners, just before we go, if anyone out there, we've got quite a few listeners and viewers now on the 3 platforms. Surely, out of all you guys, one of you out there can track down Julian Rowe for us, because I want to interview him. I really want to interview Julian Rowe. He's the mascot of this podcast. And
we'll just get him to present the award at the end of the year.
That's what I wanted to do last year, but I can't find him on any social media. He's got a LinkedIn page, which I can't contact him on, and I got no other way of being able to find him. I wanted to ask Leon Davis when we had him on in the pre-season if he had any connection to Julian Rowe, he knew anyone that still did, but I just felt like that would have been a little bit inappropriate, so I didn't. But I will open it up to our listeners. If you can get us Julian Rowe, I'll let that listener come on this podcast and have 10 minutes one-on-one with Michael. That can be your reward for getting us Julian Rowe.
What am I going to talk about with this person?
I don't know. I just don't want to be involved. So one-on-one with you.
Okay, I'll ask him. Yeah. Okay, righty. We'll do that. Alrighty, I gotta go. Alrighty.
All right. So don't forget to subscribe to our channels on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. If you want to follow our socials, you can find us on X at Into the Woods Pod and on Instagram at Into the Woods Pod 10. Thanks for listening. We look forward to doing it again next week. See ya.